So on today's agenda, we're going to be looking at circumference using Notes 11.1, circumference and arc length. By the end of class today, you should be able to calculate circumference and arc length of a circle. So when we talk about circumference, we're going to be looking at pi a lot. So what is pi? Well, pi is the ratio of the circumference of a circle to the diameter of the circle. So what mathematicians notice is regardless of the size of the circle, once you compared its circumference of the circle to its diameter, it always came out to be this ratio that we call pi, which is 3.14159, etc. And that is in this case, what pi is used for. So when we talk about circumference of a circle, the circumference is just like saying the perimeter of a polygon. So when we're talking about circumference of a circle, we're looking at, well, what's the distance going all around the circle with a radius length of r. So keeping in mind that the radius is the distance from the center point to any point on the circle, when we're talking about circumference, we're looking at twice the radius times pi. So because we're looking at twice the radius, remember, if we take our radius and then we double it, we end up getting the length of our diameter. So another way of describing circumference, instead of saying 2 pi r, we can also say diameter times pi. So for example, let's go ahead and find the circumference of this circle. So notice that my center is at 0, 0, and then once I get to a point actually that lies on the circle, which is here at 4, 0, my radius would end up being 4 units. So keeping in mind that equation, 2 pi times r, substituting in 4 for my radius, 2 times pi times 4 is equal to 8 pi. That's my exact solution. If I wanted to round it and give an approximation to the nearest tenth, that's approximately 25.1 units. Notice I use the word units because I don't have a measurement such as inches or centimeters, kilometers. In soccer, the center circle must be 10 yards in diameter to meet regulations. What is the circumference of the center circle? So notice it gives me my diameter. Now I can go ahead and just use diameter times pi, but I'm also going to show in the steps just also using the radius. So 2 times pi times the radius is equal to 2 times pi times 5, because remember the radius is half the diameter, which is equal to 10 pi. That's the same thing as saying diameter times pi. So again, my exact solution would be 10 pi. If I take the approximation, that'd be approximately 31.4 yards. If the circumference of a circle is 26 meters, what is the radius length? Round to the nearest tenth. Okay, so I'm given the circumference of a circle, and then I'm asking about my radius length. So thinking about those two equations, 2 pi r and 2 times diameter, which would be the better option to use? Since we are solving for radius, I'm going to go with 2 pi r. So I know that 2 times pi times r should equal my circumference. And I already know my circumference here, which is 26. So I'm going to go ahead and set those two equations, create the equation and set those two parts equal to each other. So 2 times pi times r is equal to 26 meters. Now I want to go ahead and I want to isolate my r value. So I'm just going to go ahead showing really step by step broken down. I'm just going to go ahead and first divide both sides by 2. So pi times r is equal to 13 meters. And then I'm going to divide both sides by now pi. So my radius is approximately 4.1 meters. Now you could have gone in the very beginning and divided both sides right away by 2 pi, but I again just wanted to show you the step-by-step version of it. Find the length of minor arc CB. So I'm only looking at this red portion of my circle. So 2 times pi times 4, because notice the radius of this circle is 4 units long. So that gives me 8 pi. Notice I only want to know the length of this red section here, which is a fourth of my circle. So CB is a fourth of the circumference. So I'm going to take my entire circumference, 8 pi, multiply it by 1/4, and that gives me 2 pi. Same thing with here to find the minor length. Notice minor arc of CB, that's only looking at this black portion here, which is 3/8 of my complete